Okay. I hope it's not gonna re send my speaking again, so we'll see how that turns out. Sorry about that. Well, welcome back, PM peeps, to PM Corner. Today, we're going to do what is called building out a work breakdown structure. Now, of course, in our last two streams, we did a build out of a Microsoft project. Now, the thing is that we looked from a schedule perspective on how to build things out. Now we're going to look at it from a scope perspective. Because though you do need a schedule, before you can even have a schedule, you have to understand what it is you're building. And that's what a work breakdown structure does. It breaks down the scope into understandable work packages, as we call it in project management, where we essentially are able to get to a lower level where we can associate specificity of cost, schedule, and resources, as well as specificity in what it is we are associating tasks to, and that it is definable and measurable. Kind of think of the SMART goals, right? It's very specific, measurable, something else, and um, you're able to like basic it's the SMART goals is where you're basically able to make sure that it's measurable, it's easy to achieve, it's something that can be done in a timely manner, that sort of thing. Don't know why I tried to attempt to even say the words of SMART in the first place. I hope if you are watching, I see someone's watching, if you could just let me know in the chat that there's no echoing coming back and that you can hear me loud and clear. That'll be fantastic. I am kind of paying attention to the chat as we go along. So, also, just to quickly add, we will have one more stream this month in December for the 15th. And then after that, we will have no other streams until the next year in 2023. So, yay. So, for those of you that celebrate the holidays, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and also a Happy New Year if I don't see you at my December 15th live stream. And also, if you like this channel and you like what we do here, please support by subscribing, following, and even donating. I've included the PayPal link in the chat below. I will also include it on the YouTube video when I post it. So, with that said, we're just going to go ahead and get started with building a work breakdown structure. Now, many times people have some difficulties in building out a work breakdown structure. Why? Because a lot of times people tend to think, oh, I really don't know everything, or I'm not really sure what is what, or well, we're not really sure what the client's really asking for. But the whole point of why the client hired you, the project manager, in the first place is because you are the one that's going to build the product, service, or result that they're asking you to do. And it's up to you to be able to do that discovery, conduct that kind of discovery, and say, okay, what is the specific work items that I need to break down so that I am able to better understand the scope. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to ignore your clients. It doesn't mean that your clients don't have a say or you don't get their feedback or their input about it. That's not it at all. But you do have to understand, even from you having documentation, because again, if we're done with the initiating phase, which is where you have written out your project charter, which gives the why are we doing this and what's the business value we're getting out of this project, you're already in the planning phase in the first place because you've gotten that approved. And so you have to kind of go through a lot of discovery. Now, in the real world, a lot of PMs, a lot of people in general, really have a hard time with planning. And it's very fascinating because one of the essential things that even in agile, you have to do planning. And planning is essential to be successful in anything, not just a project. Like think in the real world where you had to plan out I don't know, a college semester, or how you're going to approach your goals at your job for the year, right? You always kind of have to plan that out and kind of go, well, where do I want to be? In 6 months, a year, even in your personal life, right? Sometimes we always, people always say, well, it's so hard to have a goal in 5 years. Well, it just means that you know what your direction is. That's the whole point of planning, is to have a sense of direction. Even if you don't know all the answers right off the bat, you still have to have a sense of direction. And that's what a work breakdown structure does. It assists you in understanding the direction you are going in the project, right? And it can be for anything. It can be for birthday parties, it could be for a Christmas party, holiday party, a major event like a wedding. It could be anything. And that's what work breakdown structure will help you with. So, with that, we're going to take the time to build one out. And I'm going to show you how to logically think through what it is you need to do in order to achieve that goal or that end result or product or service that has been asked, right? So, since it's kind of December and it's the holidays and everyone's getting together having celebrations, we're going to do a holiday party or a Christmas party. And so, we're first going to have the numbering system. And, some of you that may have be doing this already professionally, you're probably like a little familiar with how the numbering system tends to work. But for those of you that are not, it's totally fine because we're going to explain that. So you're going to have a numbering system and then the name of the WBS level, which WBS stands for work breakdown structure. Okay, just keep that in mind. Whenever I say WBS, it means work breakdown structure. And I'm just going to kind of do this for right now. I'm just going to make sure the numbers go to the right side just so it looks neat. So, of course, our highest level or our project, right, is going to be holiday slash Christmas party. Okay, that is your level 1. That's your highest level. Why? Because it's indicating your project. Because remember, when we're breaking down the items, we're going lower and lower into the deeper levels of understanding the specificity of things we need to do. Okay? So, if we want to have a holiday party, right? What's going to happen what has to be there in order for to have a successful holiday or slash Christmas party? So, that's where we start increasing the number system. So, if you just see a solo number, that's the very top level. Now, in the real world, some WBSs would have like multiple level 1s, and that tends to be the norm. Don't worry, it tends to happen because, again, people don't really thoroughly think through their WBSs, and, well, you end up with a lot of crazy stuff afterwards. If you do it kind of like this, then you're able to better associate it to a specific project. Because also remember, if you have a program and you need a WBS to specify a specific project within your program, well, sometimes you're going to have program level type WBSs where you may have to associate a specific WBS line item within the program WBS with the project WBS. And then the project WBS is then very specific for itself. Keep that in mind as well when you go into the professional field, or just in general if you like doing planning stuff like I do. So, when we get to the lower levels, now we start going 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, however many secondary levels you're going to go, okay? So, of course, 1.1, I'm definitely going to say decorations. You need decorations, right? You got to make, what's the point of a holiday slash Christmas party if you don't have the decorations for it? That's kind of weird, right? Then you got 1.2. So 1.2, it's still the second level. So 1.2, which should be like food slash catering, right? You definitely want to have some kind of food or catering if you don't feel like cooking. Okay, something to think about. 1.3, games. What's a holiday party without games, right? Everyone wants to play games. Then let's see. So you want decorations, you want food and catering, you want games. Now, as you see how I'm thinking this through, this is how you need to approach this as well. You can't just kind of assume, like, I'm thinking through, okay, well, if I'm going to have a holiday party or slash Christmas party, what exactly am I looking for? And that's the same way you need to approach when you look at your project work for your client. You too need to do the same and say, okay, well, if my holiday party is going to have decorations, it's also got to have food and catering, it's got to have this, it's got to have that, it's got to do this, and it's got to do that, all that sort of stuff. Let's also say 1.4 is venue, which that could be your house. Maybe you feel like splurging and, spoiling your guests, and so you invest in some venue at some hotel or whatever, right? Venue. Okay, so decorations, food and catering, games, venue. Oh, presents. You definitely need presents because if you play, games like White Elephant, for example, or if you play Nasty Christmas, if you've watched The Office, you probably know what that is. But these are games where people keep trying to take a good present from the other and all that stuff. So that's something else that's part of the game section, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so we got holiday and Christmas party, decorations, food, catering, games, venue, presents. Oh, well, parking falls under venue. Okay. So now we've got the second level. Now we're going to go into the third level. So let's kind of start off with Let's start off with decorations. So I'm going to insert here. Now, of course, here's the other thing too. You don't have to do a WBS in Excel if you don't feel comfortable with Excel, okay? You can do this in Microsoft Project, although that's a little more painful, but I'm also willing to show you how to do that as well if there is a higher demand for it, which it seems as though the Microsoft Project videos are in, a lot of being searched for. So perfectly fine there. But you can do a WBS in a Word document, even in PowerPoint, wherever you feel more comfortable with. But again, take the same approach no matter what type of tool you're using to build that out. Okay, so I said decoration. So now we get to the third level. So 1 is holiday Christmas party. 1.1 is second level, that's decorations. 1.1.1 is the third level that goes under decorations. When we get to the other ones, you're going to see how it has to stay unique. And that's the whole point of a WBS too. Just like a unique ID in Microsoft Project is unique to the task, a WBS line item is unique to the line item. Okay, so there's no duplications, and there should never be duplications. And if you do, you got bigger problems. So we're going to definitely say decoration design. Let's see, decoration design, purchase, implementation. Yeah, insert. 1.1.2. Now, as you see, so under decorations 1.1, you've got 1.1.1 decoration design. Then you have to, again, make it unique. 1.1.2 decoration purchase, right? And then 1.1.3 decoration implementation. Okay, so that is your third level for decorations. Now we can kind of keep going just to kind of get you a little more comfortable. Okay, so decoration design. So sometimes in a WBS, for example, let's try and make sure I'm doing this right to kind of help best serve you. So under decoration design, we may have to create a decoration design document, for example. So 1.1.1.1, because now we're at the fourth level of the WBS, which, by the way, tends to be the standard in the in the industry. Generally, most WBSs tend to go to the 4th level, which really, to be honest, most times they're not very specific still, and you need to go further. But I've also seen it get ridiculous. I mean, there was a WBS I remember running in a 20,000 plus line schedule that had, oh gosh, almost 10 levels, which was really ridiculous. And then it became too difficult to really track what was going on, what was where. There even were discrepancies at times when it came to the cost. So, you know, it can go overboard or it can be so underdone. It just depends on the people. So back to this. So we got decoration design. So of course we want a decoration design document, right? That could be one of the 4th levels, right? Another 4th level could be 1.1.1.2. Remember, has to be very specific and unique to the item, okay? Because again, we're trying to find the work package again, and the work package is the lowest level that is very specific, very definable, and again can associate cost, schedule, and resources to when you build a schedule. Actually, in fact, if we do this, maybe next year I'll even show how to implement a WBS into a schedule. Something to think about. So, decoration design document, then you want decoration design research. Yeah, decoration design research would make sense. Um, because then you have specific tasks. So these are very specific, as you can tell. So these are going to have the associated tasks that have to be done. So if I were to kind of tell you how a schedule would be built for like a design document, right? It would be draft document, internal peer review document, incorporate feedback, finalize document, submit document to client. Then you would have what we call an SVT, or a schedule visibility task, which tends to be an external dependency where your client would review the document for X amount of days. I tend to add specific external dependencies in schedules as a little FYI, because that way it helps me help program management hold their clients accountable. Now, does it really happen in real world? Well, that's iffy and that depends on the PM. But it overall is to help be able to say, okay, well, the client's actually the one holding us up. This is why we're delayed, and here's what we need to happen, right? And that's where you can have frank conversations with your client, if you can. Now, some clients, they say they have an open door policy, but then you find out differently. But as you can see, so I already can associate specific tasks, which means I can also identify specific time frame, cost, and resources. So this right here, decoration design document, and I'll kind of notate it here. So I'll write a notations column, notations. This is the work package. That's your work package level right here. Very specific, easily definable. You can associate tasks, cost, schedule, and resources to it. Same thing here with decoration design research. Now, you could get a little more specific, but that would probably go into here. So this one is your work package level as well, because that's where you're kind of identifying cost of decorations, how much you may need, what kind, do you have a theme you want to follow? So I have a best friend who was kind of saying to me at one point, my color theme. So maybe you want specific colors like, blue and silver with tinsel and whatever. Or maybe you want to have red and gold or red and silver. Maybe you want your Christmas trees to be more forest in the snow type theme, and then you want like fake little animals that you can put in the trees. Whatever your theme is, right? That's all part of your research design effort. And again, it's very specific, it's definable. I can associate tasks to it. I can also associate schedule, costs, and resources. I know I'm going to be repeating that over and over again, but I'm helping you to see and visualize and understand how you can make this all work together. So now, of course, we've done decoration design, we've identified our work packages. Now we can go down to decoration purchase. So this one you can almost say is a work package because, let's be honest, in the research design you probably already identified what venue might go with. But you could also do that here where you can say purchase decorations. But then again, that's kind of a task, not really a work package within a WBS level, right? So technically we could say decoration purchase is a work package level, right? Because it's definable and specific, all that fun jazz I just said in the last two. Okay, so that's our work packages right here. Now decoration implementation can get a little more specific. So let's say that, maybe we're going to, for the venue, we're going to say we chose to do the house, right? So let's just insert for funsies decoration implementation. So let's say we want to decorate the main living room, the kitchen, deck slash patio, and front of the house. Okay, so here you go. So remember, decoration implementation is the third level. Your fourth level is 1.1.3.1, 1.1.3.2, 1.1.3.3, 1.1.3.4. All right, so maybe you'll decorate living room, decorate kitchen. Because, some people might want to sit at the kitchen bar. They might want to interact with whoever's cooking or catering or, whatever. And people can be wherever they want. Decorate patio slash deck. Because some people may have a deck and a patio or both or one or the other, right? And then decorate front of house. Now, as you see, it's very specific and definable, as you can tell, right? So we've got and again, we can then associate tasks, cost, schedule, and resources. So your resources would be kind of your decorations, for example. Those would be the materials. So if you remember back in the Microsoft project tutorials, probably the first part, where we talked about how materials are just more of a cost versus a work like people. So you can associate those materials to this WBS line item. So of course we have our work packages right here. So that's our work packages. This is the lower level. Now we go on to food and catering. So we may have a 1.2.1, third level, so food slash catering research. Just like with decorations, we're going to do the same thing with this. And ooh, actually, you can technically go 1.2, because remember, specific. Food slash catering menu document. Now, unlike decorations design, we're only at the food catering, and as you can see, that's very specific. Now you're probably going, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because what if, why are some, are at a higher level in their work package versus some are lower level in their work package? Well, again, something like 1.1 is very vague. Then we get a 1.1.1. That's still vague. What is design? What do you do for that? Right? So again, logically, what you're trying to do is decompose the scope to where you can say, yep, that's very specific, that's definable. I am able to associate my schedule, costs, tasks, and resources to it. That's the point of the WBS exercise. Now, it may seem tedious, but in reality, when you start kind of planning out in detail like a large program, it starts to help you visualize and even kind of see, what could be the potential possibility, right? Now, is there such things as planning packages, for example? Absolutely. Do you have to completely decompose your entire WBS for a program that maybe goes on for 10 years, something like that? No. But doing the exercise helps you not only as a PM, but also with your team in being able to say, what exactly is it that we're trying to do? And in fact, you know what? Because we built this WBS, we may just demonstrate this too in Microsoft Project, but we'll see. I'm probably sure we will because there's plenty of time, but we'll get there in a minute. But again, we're looking at things that are very specific. So same with food catering. Like, okay, 1.2 is very vague. But food catering research, no, that's very specific. Because now I'm going, okay, well, what are my tasks to fulfill food catering work package? Same with the menu. Same like design research, design document, all of that. So then let's go to the games. So we're going to do the same thing again, 1.3.1. Games research. And again, maybe there's a 1.3.2 games menu. Okay, so maybe you'll include like, some board games, games that adults can play, like, That's What She Said or Cards Against Humanity, whatever, fun stuff. Actually, in my mind, though, that means I'm going to get rid of the venue. We're just going to naturally assume we're hosting this at our house, right? Because we did, living room, kitchen, all that. So games research, games menu. 1.3.3 could be games purchase. Yeah, and that kind of works actually. So these are then your work packages, right? Because again, I can kind of look at that and go, these are the tasks we need to do. And then finally, presence. So 1.4.1, guests presence research. So you need to figure out what's something your guests may want as a present, right? Then you got 1.4.2, where it's you can do a presence list. Right. So if we think about presence lists, maybe at your work, you maybe don't purchase things above, like a $25 cap, right? Like in the office, right, where Michael Scott decides to buy a $300 iPod and not stay within the $25 gap, limit, unlike everyone else, and that of course creates all those comical instances right there on the spot. So of course, so you gotta kind of have to set some limitations potentially, especially when it comes to a situation like that. And I'm sorry if I laughed, but I'm not that sorry. It's still funny. Okay, so guest present research, present list, slash requirements. Yeah, let's just put it like that. You could break this down into 1.4.2.1 and say presence purchase requirements. Yeah, you can do that. And then 1.4.2.2 can be presence list document. So as you see, we went from 3 to 4 for presence list and slash requirements. So these are your work packages, right? And then don't think we need to put a line that says purchase gifts because technically everyone's going to purchase gifts, right? So I think from a WBS perspective, which is really simple, and I know you probably were expecting like this giant, large, really cool WBS, but the whole purpose is again to kind of teach you how to think through things and how to just decompose, okay? And then, of course, this is where things get fun, because when you start, oh yeah, and this is a work package, because it's very specific, like what kind of gifts would people like, so then that way you can kind of create the list document and the purchase requirements and all that fun jazz, right? Right. So now we've identified our work packages and such. Now we can go ahead and let's just do Microsoft Project. It'll be fine. Who's not against doing Microsoft Project? I'm not. All right, come on, Microsoft. There we go. And again, we're just going to make a blank workbook. Now, of course, again, Padawans, peeps, PM peeps, don't forget when you open Microsoft Project, always set to auto schedule. Bada bing, bada bim. Now, I did mention in my previous streams when it came to Microsoft Project on how to incorporate a customized WBS, because there is, of course, a auto WBS. Okay, well, that's not being, there we go, WBS. So as you can see here, and I'm just going to demo it like I've done before. So if I do task 1, see how it just auto, WBSs, it just makes the automatic right here. And then of course, if I go task 1.1, right? And then if I insert it, now it becomes 1.1. So just quickie. But we're not going to do that. We are fancy, okay? We are fancy minds and we need to have fancy things. Because again, let's be honest. When it comes to clients and the real world, these standardized things, like you see the standardized, let me just put the outline code. So if we're going to build a WBS, use whatever outline code. And as you see, they give you like up to 10 different outline codes. So that's the one we're going to use and create a customized WBS in. But as I was starting to say, some of these auto things like reports, you probably saw at the beginning when I was opening up Microsoft Project, there's all those automatic like templates and so forth. And I say this also in my Udemy course, which is also available, which is the very basics of Microsoft Project. The very essential thing is you kind of need to understand how to build things from scratch, because you will always have a unique situation with your client no matter what. I think the only time they're not really unique in an essence, it would be like building a house, for example. You're always going to get certain materials and do certain things all the time, every single time. But when it comes to software development, it's always a unique situation for some reason. And I've seen this a lot in my professional career where many of the projects are very different depending on what it is, what is happening, so on and so forth. So, with that said, it's really important. I was just starting that sentence there for no reason. It's really important to understand how to make that happen and how to make things from scratch and make them unique, because your client will also have certain needs that they want to meet. They want to meet or want to have met. I know, for example, I have clients that have asked me, we want to be able to present this to our leadership, for example. So how can we make this readable and understandable for not only me, but also for my leadership? And you may have to do that. And, well, not may, you will. It's just a matter of who and when and what kind of project. So it's very important to understand how to make things from scratch and unique and very specific to whatever it is you're doing. And this is where we're starting off. So you input outline code 1. And then what you do is you right click, and then there's a thing called a custom field. Now it brings up this little prompt here called the custom fields. Now you got ones that are task, resources, type. Now, of course, if I click down on this one, then I can click on any of these that have additional code lines like this one does, right? So I can do the cost one, a date, duration, whatever. And as you see, it goes all the way to outline code 10. Now, automatically for outline code, it goes to lookup. If I change this, of course, which let's just say if I do text, now it goes to none, lookup, and formula. These are fun to use when you want to use unique formulas. I'm not going to do that for this round, but just kind of to understand, um, that's how this would look. And that's why if you did a text field versus a outline code field, it looks different. Now, for a text field, you have a lot more flexibility. In an outline code field, you don't have that flexibility. As you see, it's only a lookup. Now, you can import fields because there is a thing called a global MPT. And what Global MPT does in Microsoft Project is it allows you to copy over your templates, custom fields you use, and it's really helpful, especially with like your custom calendars, custom fields, custom views, custom whatever it is you build. So you're not having to rebuild it every single time. Although a WBS, in my opinion, you're probably going to rebuild every single time because, again, a WBS should be unique to the project or program, not just in, some cookie cutter thing, right? Now, of course, when it comes to, maybe you make a custom formula that helps you identify things a little quickly or, helps make like some cool, pretty, stoplight chart, for example. I've done that before. Then you might want to copy that over so that then you can just keep reusing it and reusing it over and over again instead of having to rebuild it every single time you open a new file. And that's the beauty of the import field. We'll maybe one day do that where we incorporate other, fields that we used in the past or custom fields and show how to work that. Maybe for a different day. So as I said, it's just automatically the lookup. So you're going to open that. Now, first off, before we even begin, you want to add more levels to your code mask, okay? So you can edit the mask for lookup table, including adding or deleting levels. So this just kind of helps you be able to incorporate as many levels as possible. Because if you only do the level 1, it's going to get really weird. But I do this also too because some people don't have this issue. I've seen this before. Um, so I tend to add in a bunch just to make sure that, I can get to the level I want to get at. And I just tend to go a little ham about it. So I do about 15 levels. And as you see, there's a sequence. So you could do characters, numbers, uppercase, lowercase. Okay, always stick with just characters. You don't need to change it unless you have to, okay? And then length, any, what's the separator? It's a period. You can change the separator to a slash, a plus, a minus, or a period. Doesn't matter. Length, you can say how many lengths that can go. It's perfectly fine and up to you, but I just kind of do it like this. Easy, easy peasy, not difficult. Okay, so now you edit your mask. Now we're going to take this work breakdown structure and add it to here. So of course, we're going to have the value 1. This is the holiday / Christmas party. Okay, now we're going to go to the next level, which is we want 1.1, which is decorations, 1.2, food and catering, 1.3, games, 1.4, presents. Okay, so now, watch this. So we already have a 1. So if I enter a 1, it turns red. Why does it turn red? Because it means I already have a 1 at this level. I need to indent it. See how it changed from being all red to now normal? That's what you need to do. Rations. 2. Now, this is going to look cool once we implement it, I promise. Right now, it just kind of looks like, well, it's just only showing like the numbers. That's kind of weird. That's just kind of how the outline code and inputting a custom WBS looks like. So we got food and catering. I would normally use a second screen, but I obviously want you to see how I'm looking at it to show you how to translate it. Now, you could copy, but I don't recommend. It just gets messy because, again, Microsoft Project is just very special. There you go. So we got decorations, food catering, games, and presents. Now we need to go into decorations design, purchase, and implementation, right? So again, so now if we want to add, there's these functions up here. So there's cut. This is copy. I don't remember what this one is. This is no, that's copy. That's paste. This is indent or insert and delete, left indent, right indent. Okay. So I'm just going to insert again, and I'm going to indent underneath that. I'm just going to add 3 more. So 1, 2, oh, I just did that. 2, 3. Okay. So then I go here, and I want decoration design, implementation, and purchase. Yeah. So decoration design, decoration purchase, decoration implementation. Okay. So now that I've added those, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's just keep going with the decoration piece, right? So under decoration design, right, I've got decoration design document and research. Those are my work packages. So again, just insert twice, highlight, indent, and then go 1 and 2. So decoration design document, decoration design research. Okay, so we've done that. Purchase is its own work package, so we don't really need to do that. Okay, so decoration implementation, right? So that's where we got the living room, kitchen, patio deck, front house, right? So we're going to do the same thing again. So that was 4. Yeah. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now you see it automatically puts it at the level here. It already puts it at the level 3. These are level 4. Now, as you see, these are red, but the 4 is not. Why? Because, again, it's looking at it because you haven't indented yet. It's looking at it as if it's part of that level. So, of course, you just need to highlight, indent. There you go. So, decorate living room. Okay, let me just make sure. So, and also because why I'm double checking is because you got to make sure that you're properly associating what WBS item to its code, because if you don't, you might run into problems such as the improper association of cost, schedule, and resources. Kitchen, patio deck, front of the house. Okay. Decorate kitchen. Decorate patio deck. Decorate front of house, right? That's what I call it. Yep, front of house. Okay, so now your decorations section of the WBS is all set up. So now you've got everything ready to go there. So we're going to do the same thing again for the food catering. So we have food catering research and food catering menu document. Okay. So then all you do is 1, 2. Now as you see, it doesn't turn red right away because we haven't put any numbers. But if I go like this, again, it's associating at this level, the second level. So again, I need to highlight and indent, and there you go. So food catering research, food catering menu document. Okay. So there we go with the food menu. So then, of course, for games, we need to do games research, games menu, games purchase. So we're going to do the same thing again. So 1, 2, 3. So again, 1, 2, and 3. As you see, they're red, highlight, indent, done. Okay, so games research, games menu, and games purchase, right? Yep, games purchase, Okay. Now, of course, for level 4, we won't have to do a lot of inserting because, well, we're now at the very bottom, unlike the rest of these. So we're just going to do the next pieces. So the next one is 4.1, 1.4.1, 1.4.2. So guest presence research, presence list, and requirements. Okay. 1 and 2. And highlight, indent. Okay, so now remember, we also do have a lower level for the second one, right? We got 1.4.2.1 and 1.4.2.2. So we got the purchase requirements and the list document, right? So we're going to do 1 and 2. So now again, you see it's associating with the same level until we indent. Okay, presence list document. Right. I'm just making sure. No, presence purchase requirements. So presence purchase requirements. Presence purchase list. Let me just make sure I type that in right. Yep. Okay. And here you go. So now we've built in the WBS into Microsoft Project. So now we can hit close. And of course, we want to rename our outline codes. So we're going to call this the holiday, or we'll call this the party WBS, okay? Because it's unique to just this file, so it's fine. Okay, so now, and how I did that was it was highlighted on outline code 1. I just click rename, and as you saw, I just renamed it. Which again, you can't directly call it a WBS because it's already got a WBS column. There we go. So now we've got our party WBS. We can now start adding in the tasks. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to quickly save this. Here. Don't mind me. Just going to take a minute. Just want to save. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm going to close that. Okay. So now, again, holiday / Christmas party, right? And of course, I don't want the timeline, so I don't care about it right now. All right, and then as you see, the cool part is when I do the drop down, now it tells me what it is. Nifty, right? Okay, so now you see it's just 1. Like I was telling you before when we first built out our WBS. So now we can start adding in the other line items, right? So we can start adding decorations. Now, of course, unlike the auto WBS column where automatically was like, oh, you're not indented, so it's another level. No, our WBS is already, made, so it doesn't recognize things like, oh, it needs to be indented, for example. So you have to manually indent when you make custom fields like your own custom WBS as an FYI. Then we get, decorations, food and catering. Food, catering. And of course, here we get games. And of course, here we get presents. Okay, Now, as you see, again, these are very high level. These are not very specific and definable, right? So we can't associate any cost or people or whatever. So now we're going to insert our tasks. Now, as you see, I'm just kind of right-clicking and inserting. Again, you can just, highlight and then go to task and insert task, which is a task tab, over to schedule, insert, or not to schedule, but over to insert task, and there you go. Now, of course, again, I'm just kind of showing you how I'm associating it. So we got decoration design, decoration, oh, no, not that. Decoration purchase and decoration implementation, right? Decoration design, decoration purchase, decoration implementation. So as you see, again, we're not quite at the work package level, except for, of course, decoration purchase, right? So that one's a kind of an exception to the rule. So again, now also kind of cool thing. No, don't do that. Kind of cool thing. You can kind of highlight like this, and then right click, and then insert, and it will give you like more tasks that you can add. So we want decoration design document, and I forgot it's only 2 lines for this one. And decoration design research. Now, of course, we kind of didn't do that in order, but that's okay because, again, we have already identified our work package level. Now, of course, in a different future stream, I can show you how in like the government, for example, they use what's called PMT types. And that's where they use lettering for earned value to identify what is like a very discrete task. So we would call that like a C. What is a work package, which is a K, an LOE or a level of effort task, which is an A 0 to 100 is an F, all that fun jazz. But that's a different stream. We're more concerned about showing how to associate the different levels. So let me just do this. Let me just put this back. We should have done that differently, but that's okay. So decoration design document, because logically we can't really make the design document until we've done the research, right? Decoration design research. So now as you see, I'm just going to switch these. These are the work packages, right? So now I can do this. All right, so I'll show you the document one first. Okay, so draft, internal peer review, incorporate feedback, finalize, submit, review. And I'll show you an SVT too, or, schedule visibility task, your external dependencies, and approval. Okay. And again, you can just do this one and add indent. And now we can go draft design document, conduct internal peer review of design document. Now you're probably wondering, why do you make these task names very specific? There's a reason why. Because again, your schedule could be presented to a client. And again, a client's not always involved in the day-to-day activities that you and your team are doing. Okay? They're not involved all the time. So, in scheduling as a best practice, not only do you need to have a verb at the very beginning, but also it needs to be, again, like a work package, a task also needs to be very specific and definable so that they understand the steps you are taking from getting from point A to point B and how you're getting from the beginning to the end. That is essential and important, because if you don't understand how that work package is being fulfilled as a client, you're more than likely yourselves are not also understanding how to fulfill that work package as well. And that maybe needs to be a planning package because maybe it's just too far out or you're just not sure of what the dependencies are, fully haven't fleshed out the scope, whatever the case may be. But your tasks need to be very specific. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've audited schedules that were not very specific, not definable, and it's like, well, what does that mean? And a client will say the same thing. They'll be like, what does that mean? I don't understand this. Whereas when I say draft design document, that's very specific. It's okay, you're drafting the design document right now. Conducting the internal peer review of the design document. Well, that makes sense. You are trying to make sure that people agree to it, right? Incorporate internal peer review feedback into design document, right? And then, of course, finalize design document. Submit final design document. Now, these are all your tasks, as in you, the PM, have assigned resources to these tasks that are internal to you. When it comes to client or external type dependencies, excuse me, when it comes to external dependencies, you need to be able to identify who that is. Now, I have seen many times people get very finicky about like specifically calling out a third party because they try to say it's disrespectful, which is like, no, it's not. It's not rude or disrespectful in any way. It is a way to tell the client who you're dependent upon. Okay. If people get sensitive about things like that, it's already an automatic issue to you. It should automatically be what, people call a red flag. If people are having problems with you calling out third parties in their activities, then that's already showing a sign of lack of accountability, FYI. But you need to be able to do that so you can be able to point out where your issues are if you're facing delays. Okay. So in the scheduling world, we do what is called an SVT. So SVT stands for Schedule Visibility Task. This is an external dependency. I've seen some people type external DEP. Okay, but not everything's always a external dependency, right? Sometimes it's just a visibility task. It gives you the visibility into like say your client's CCB board process, or CCB, by the way, means change control board. Your client's change control board process, that can be a schedule visibility task. You may not have dependency on it right away, but it is a schedule visibility task because you just want to make sure that they're following their processes as they've claimed and agreed to, right? Again, contractual obligations. But again, that's, schedule visibility task is all encompassing. There are other ways you can kind of identify, but, I tend to say use an SVT. It's your best safest bet. And so in the SVT, it's conduct, review, and approval of design document by client. Now, if you remember also in my last tutorial, where I kind of said that you could use a lag to kind of show the difference from, or not the difference, but the time between submission and receiving approval. Yeah, that's great and all, but again, if you want to hold accountability of third parties, whether that's third party contractors, your client, whatever that may be, you kind of want to have a schedule visibility task to show that. And I didn't mention that because really I'm just trying to show you in the last, season, not season, but the last stream, just how to build a basic schedule. in this one, we're kind of now advancing our skills a little bit here. So now we get to talk about schedule visibility tasks, and always include them when you're dealing with third parties. Always, it's your safest bet. It helps, protect you in some ways, and it's also a way of like showing that, hey, we're trying to coordinate. We're not getting answers. Client, help us, because that's the whole point of a client. They're trying to help you. They need to help you in removing any blockers, any issues. Maybe they're the ones that kind of need to put their foot down with the third parties because, whatever the case may be. Maybe they're political relationships, whatever. So then you have that, and then you have receive of design document from client. Okay. Now, as you see, these are very specific tasks that fulfill the work package, and that's your example of how that works. And again, then once you build it all the rest out, then you can kind of, see how it all works and how the WBS comes together. Um, I hope the recording comes out well for this one, but we'll have to see. Um, may have to redo this one if that may be the case, but we'll see. But so this is where I'm going to kind of leave off because I don't want to get too far. It's been a long week. But again, this is kind of the basics of how to create a WBS and how to think things through. I really hope you enjoy it. And again, if you really like the content on this channel, please, show support through following and subscribing on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch. And also, please feel free to donate to PayPal. My link is in my chat, and then I have it available too in all my other social medias as best as I can. It would be really helpful to help sustain this channel and be able to keep doing all these cool things and show you how to do all these really nifty skills. But with that, I thank you for joining and look forward to seeing you on December 15th. Have a great day.